Good morning. Welcome to Frank's School. I'm finally ready to deal with the question of why. Why? Why? You say it in Artok Ruy'n. Why Artok Ruy'n? Why? What's the point? I've avoided this in a way. I mean, what I've done is, well, there's a pause coming. I've written that there. There's a pause coming. For what is it, the sixth day of the sixth year, for 6 days I have pretty much specialized in the writing system, Artok Ruy'n. And you could say that the primer is over. Uh, Funny that when I first ran into this word, I wanted to call it primer. It's actually in Artok Ruy'n, it would be primer, just like that is primer. I've put enough out there that people were able to read Artok Ruy'n without any primer at all. They just had to make a little effort. But there's enough out there now that if somebody wanted to, they could not only read it, they could also write it, which would be lovely for me. I'd love to see that because I'd see their diet, well, for lots of reasons. It's coming, but it's not quite over. This week I'm still going to be dealing with Artok Ruy'n some. For one thing, I want to show how it generated a rhyme chart, which is in my in Frank's School already. If you wanted to look at how to write verse, there's a video in the first year where I instruct how to write verse, and I show the rhyme chart. Well, I want to show that again. Okay, and I wanted to apologize for this cold that I've had. It's going away finally. I mean, my coughing and stuff. All right, now why no schwa? Why didn't I just use a schwa? I think that's the way you spell that. I don't know. That's not the way I'd spell it in Artok Ruy'n, but well, it's because it's an upside down E. A schwa is usually represented with an upside down E, and that's not easily available on a keyboard. I'm sure you could get it if you wanted it, but I limited myself to the symbols that were easily accessible on an American keyboard. So that's why I didn't use a schwa. I'm glad I didn't, actually, because I think it's interesting to separate separate them out. You have to listen a little more closely to the sounds you're actually making. All right, now to the question of why. Well, this is aside from Artok Ruy'n's superiority. I don't think there's. I have no question in my mind but that Artok Ruy'n is a superior spelling system to the standard English spelling system. Now, later I'll probably explain why we continue to use, what good is there in the standard English spelling system, and there is some good. I'll point that out, and it's lodged there. It can't be shaken loose. If you're interested in the subject, if you would Google spelling reform and look at all the efforts over hundreds of years to reform the English spelling system, you'll see that there were lots of ideas. They all ultimately failed. Standard English spelling system that's current could not be dislodged in spite of all the attempts. Well, I do believe my system is the best, but I don't expect that I'm going to dislodge the other. But it's nice. It could be nice for people to have it there available quickly, especially if you're sitting in a class or something and you're listening and somebody says something you have no idea how to spell it. Well, just write it in Artok Ruy'n what you heard. All right, now, and fun. You might think, oh, Frank's doing this just for fun. No, it is fun in a way, but that's not why I'm doing it. For one thing, as I said before, I don't get fun out of mimicking someone's dialect. No, I take language too seriously for that. And all right, first of all, I wanted to limit my audience. I have been going on Facebook, and I have put a lot of stuff here in the United States, worldwide, I guess, this Trump revolution phenomenon. I could see it coming about a year ago. But in any case, I decided it would be cowardly of me to not say what I thought, since I had I guess I still have about 700 friends on Facebook, and not that many that I know of have unfriended me. But of those 700, given where I live, way more than half of them I'm sure, were Trump supporters. And I don't mind hearing from them at all, except that I found out that there were many of them that were just blowing off like Trump was. And not all of them. I mean, I've had some that have we've had very thoughtful communications in spite of my disgust for the man. But anyway, I thought, well, here's a way to limit my audience. They're going to have to work just a little bit if they want to know what I have to say. And if they're willing to do that little bit of work, I'm much more interested in hearing what they've got to say. I really had some that were just doing nothing but blowing off. And I think it was really just too easy for them to be this open target. I mean, I've still been an open target, but a little bit of a confusing target now. So that was one of my reasons. That was probably the first reason that I went, oh, I know, it was when I gave the Keidman's The Reluctance, Dream of the Rude in the original, without the transcription. I did that because I decided, all right, let's see if anybody reads this. And later I gave a standard English transcription of it. All right, that was the first time I used it. A second reason, though, is decentralization. And if that word, or decentralism, if you just can't get comfortable with a word like this, or it seems to take away centralism. On the positive side, you could call it localism, I suppose. The use of standard English spelling is immediately obeisance, maybe, to this standard that's there. And if you spell something wrong, you've spelled it not according to that standard. So even as you're even saying your words, by using standard English, you're giving obeisance. I'm pretty sure that is the word. Edgar Allan Poe used it in The Raven, I think. Obeisance to this. Well, not me. So for the purpose of decentralization in language, I'll do it. Someone's going to have an easier time reading my things that I write in Artok Ruy'n if they speak my dialect. I feel a little sorry for the British. They would have trouble. But for some of my friends who don't have English as their native language, and they've learned it easier to read probably than to speak, it's going to be hard for them, and I'm sorry about that. Well, that decentralism, that goes back. I had written 40 years ago a long essay called The Folk Makes No Apology. And I think I'm going to actually read it somewhere, maybe down around 20 or 30 day of the 6th year. I'll probably undertake to read the whole thing. And it's about this impulse to write in Artok Ruy'n. And what got me going on that was this expression, making hay. I'm a farmer, and I make hay, and in summer we're making hay. And that apostrophe offended me. In Artok Ruy'n, that would be making hay. There's no apostrophe. And it's not making hay. I mean, the letter is not being omitted. It just isn't there. And I took offense at that, and the result was that essay. So that's the second reason. Limit my audience for the purpose of decentralization, respect for Keidman, The Reluctance, poetry. I'm not gonna write any more transcriptions. I thought I would do one more poem of his, and once again write it in the transcription into standard English spelling. But I changed my mind. No, I'm done doing that. If anybody that wanted to could write a transcription, no problem to that. Plus that poem, it's called "The Riddle of the Craftsman in the Extra Line." It's in my course elsewhere. But I'll be presenting it again soon. So out of respect for his poetry, and there are volumes of it, over 1,000 pages, I imagine, of works of Keidman, The Reluctance, that I'm not going to put them all online, but quite a few of them I will. And it's a come down to take them out of his dialect. All right, and so I'm going to be going back to year 5 very soon, probably by next week. This week will still be filled out with this kind of stuff. And I'm going to go back outside, and of course there's interesting stuff going on out there. So anyway, I've attempted to answer the question of why. Why am I doing this? I'll have more to say, but that's an effort. Bye for now.